Good morning, everybody. This is Scott McMeans with Action Coach SBL. I am happy to report that today we have another great edition of the Business Spotlight. We are joined this morning by Geoffrey Hall, the CEO of Cleveland Clinic Rehab Hospital. I want to introduce Jeff to the world of Business Spotlight. So, Jeff, please take a few moments and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about the Cleveland Clinic Rehabilitation Hospital.
Yeah, good morning. As introduced, I'm Geoffrey Hall, Chief Executive Officer for the Cleveland Clinic Rehabilitation Hospital. I'm coming up on my 7th year in this position and really am excited about our growth and how we serve our community here in Northeast Ohio, really focusing on helping patients recover from strokes, traumatic and non-traumatic spinal cord injuries, brain injuries, and other orthopedic injuries resulting from trauma. We are positioned to really help individuals. We strive to be the last hospital that they're going to need before they end up successfully getting back to life and going home with their families. So while we care for our patients, we're really trying to create an environment where our staff are tuned into the needs of our patients, their needs of their families, and how we really provide service and care for others.
That's outstanding. Thank you for the introduction and explanation of what you do. I love the line where you say the last hospital that somebody will need before they go back to regular life, because that's the essence of rehabilitation, right?
Yes.
So one of the words that I heard you say that I want to touch on is growth. So how would you attribute the growth that the Cleveland Clinic Rehabilitation Hospital has seen over the last so many years? What makes you so special?
Yeah, so we operate 3 locations across Northeast Ohio. Each location is 60 beds. We have a campus in Avon, serving the west side of Cleveland, a campus in Beechwood, serving the east side of Cleveland, and then our Edwin Shaw campus serves kind of everything south of Cleveland. And we are partnered with the Cleveland Clinic and are their inpatient rehabilitation hospital. But we take and admit patients from all over the community that are in need of rehab medicine and just need some of that intensive physical, occupational, and speech therapies, as well as the care of both doctors and nurses in order to go home. One of the ways that we've grown over the years since we opened, our first campus opened in 2015, it was our campus in Avon. And then in 2017, the 2 additional locations grew. So we're now a 180-bed system, but we've really grown in the complexity of patients that we serve. So we've got deep expertise for spinal cord injury and brain injury. We've developed restorative cancer rehabilitation programs. We've really kind of listened to the needs of our partner, Cleveland Clinic, as well as the community, to just enhance and tailor our services. So we've made significant investments in technology. We've certainly put an enormous focus on our caregiver recruitment and training and how that creates patient satisfaction. I'm a big believer that the employee experience then creates the exceptional patient experience, and not the other way around. And so we're really trying to kind of focus on the purpose and the why. And year over year, our volume of patients has increased and grown. The specialty of our treatment and service and programs have grown. And now we're starting to kind of break into some new frontiers with emerging research and innovation technology, which is in some ways kind of a separator from some other locations where people might have choice to receive rehabilitation. And we're now operating across the 3 campuses better than 90% occupancy, and oftentimes that creates almost a wait list for patients that are seeking this as a destination hospital. So we're really kind of focused on individualizing that care, working as almost as much with the family as we do with the patient, so that the family is then ready to help support that person at home. And then always, you know, making ourselves available to serve the larger community. And that has really grown in volume and just in the sophistication of the care that we provide.
I have to say 90% occupancy is exceptional. And the idea that you have the mantra of the employee experience translates to the patient experience, that is the key, in my opinion, to the business cycle, where the business is taken care of by the customers, but the customers are taken care of by the people that work with the business.
Yeah.
So that mentality, that philosophy is a very strong piece, because it's a very strong circle. When the business takes care of the employees take care of the customers there again take care of the business, and it just keeps going. It's a very strong model. I appreciate you having that mentality. One thing that kind of resonated with me is you have a clinical expertise that ranges from spinal cord injury, orthopedic injuries, stroke. They're very different, right? What would you say is the most important or the most applicable skill set, or most applicable foundational thing that the Cleveland Clinic Rehabilitation Hospital does to address such a wide spectrum of patients that come in? Is that a legitimate question for you?
Yeah, it is. So I think our greatest strength is our people. And what is so great about that is we have people with such expertise and skill that they have spent their entire careers honing and refining and always growing and developing in their delivery of service. But because of our maturity as a hospital, we've also had success with those newer grads that come out of school without as much experience, but with great ideas and great energy. And I think we've balanced our employee experience so that we're always learning from each other. We do use data to always constantly improve. We invest heavily in our staff to help them grow professionally through a clinical ladder. We're really now supporting research and innovation. We're always trying to walk that fine line of the skill of our people and how we comprehensively train those individuals. But then we're also investing in new technology that then enhances some of the care that we deliver. So, it's hard to just pinpoint one specific service that makes the difference. Certainly, there's a huge therapy focus, physical therapy and occupational therapy, speech therapy focus inside a rehab hospital, but there's also great physician, great nursing care. There's great pharmacy interaction that's providing education around the patient's medications. And our case managers are having as many family meetings to identify any barriers to that home discharge early in that patient's stay, even to the point of doing home visits and home evaluations to, again, prepare that home environment for that patient. And we really kind of strive to be, like I said, that last hospital that you're going to need before you get back to life. And, that's kind of how we see our mission, as many of the hospitals in our area will save your life. And when you come to us, it's up to us to get you back to your life and really improve that quality of life, thinking about function, thinking about, what accommodations we can help that person make. Certainly there is no silver bullet that just eliminates some of these very complex conditions. But we want to show people that you can return to the community and live successfully and have a very satisfying and fulfilled life. And that, I think, to your earlier point, is really important, because you have to connect your employees back to that purpose and mission. And if you asked me what I did, I would probably sum it up in one sentence. I feel like I care for others who care for others. So I need to create an environment where, as leaders, we care for the people providing the care. And then it's reasonable for me to expect that they're giving exceptional patient satisfaction and patient care to the patients that we serve.
Great summary sentence. I care for others that care for others. I like that a lot, Geoffrey. Thank you for that. The thought process that I'm going through right now is you have so many different people on your staff, right? And they all have to have a very specific technical skill set, whether it's OT, PT, speech, what
Right.
have you. What is the one underlying thread of a person that you look for when you're hiring, right?
Yeah, that's a great question. If I had to define that, I'm looking for people with empathy and people that are going to use that empathy and being resourceful to kind of overcome some of the challenges and barriers. Because individuals are coming to us after sometimes the worst thing has happened to them health wise in their life. And I'd like to think that they choose us, but they really do need us. And so kind of identifying that empathy, and which just sets that foundation for just really compassionate care. And then we can figure out the how. And I think building relationships, treating other people how they want to be treated, we're going to help motivate that patient to do a little extra therapy. We're going to get them to try a little harder. We're going to remind them that they're trying to get home for their daughter's wedding or their son's graduation, or the walks across the metro parks with their spouse. Like, we have to get to know them so well that we know how they want to be treated, so that when things get hard, we can help motivate them past that.
That's a powerful statement, because people have to find their own motivation. And I believe when people get triggered by the right motivation, they can accomplish almost anything,
Absolutely.
right?
And it's
Especially going from an injury to an outcome of, like you said, I'm going to walk my daughter down the aisle, or I'm going to take a stroll with my partner down the metro parks. There's a lot of motivation behind that, and tapping into that is huge, right?
mhm. Yeah. So we're really putting a lot of focus on, because we can teach the technical skill and we can train to those competencies of how do you take care of a patient, but it really does kind of start with that empathy and heart.
Yeah, that's a solid point. I appreciate that. One of the things that I wanted to ask you, you're the CEO, right?
Mhm.
What's the biggest misconception people have of your job, your role, and how you actually perform that job and that role?
Oh, I love that question. Um, so certainly the title of CEO comes with its kind of perceptions, and it sometimes feels like a very budget heavy, meeting heavy, policy heavy kind of backdrop and infrastructure, particularly in healthcare, which is such a highly regulatory environment with compliance and so many of the headwinds and pressures that face healthcare right now. And certainly I have components of all of those things, but um, I really enjoy taking care of people. My own background is not only a master's in business, but also in social work. So the idea that the CEO, how I operate, is that I'm very visible and very accessible, and I know most of our staff personally and on first name basis, and I can walk down the hall and just feel very comfortable engaging, um, everybody from the housekeeper to the doctor to the patient to the family. And my favorite days are when I'm out, spending time with our staff and our patients and being able to do leadership roundings. So that sometimes surprises people because they just somehow perceive that the CEO is kind of the guy behind the curtain. It's not always that. And while the budgets and the strategic planning and the meetings and all of those things are important, you have to keep your focus, I think, especially now more than ever, on the people that you serve in the leadership role and that you're asking to serve in different ways.
That that answer, Geoffrey, is one that separates a successful CEO versus a titled CEO,
Mhm.
right? That's the way I look at it. Um, the CEO of years past probably is a dinosaur, and it's going away because people realize that in order to do the things you need to do, your vision, your mission have to be aligned with the people that are doing those things with and for you. And being able to be not only a manager of a business, but a leader of that business are two very separate things. And I'm happy to see you be so successful, because the the balancing of both leader and manager are very challenging, right? And
Right.
with that being said, what's the biggest challenges you have in that balance, or what's some of the challenges that you face knowing that you're trying to keep growing and yet you have to take care of today? So how what's the balance, or
Yeah.
the
So
challenge?
honestly, the answer I'll give you today might have been different than the answer I would have given you 3 years ago. But coming out of this COVID-19 pandemic, it has just created so many different pressures and stress on recruitment and staffing for healthcare providers, because a lot of individuals, and we knew there was going to be a period in time where people started to retire, but I think the COVID pandemic kind of really accelerated a lot of exiting of the skilled labor force out of the market. And the people that are coming into the market to become the new nurses have had different and maybe not as good orientations and experiences and rotations where they really get this good foundation. So as we hire new caregivers into the healthcare setting, we have to spend a lot more time orienting and onboarding and really kind of precepting them and training them to this exhaustive list of competencies just to care for a patient. So, normally your orientation might have lasted a couple of weeks. Now it lasts a couple of months. So, and everyone is looking for that same nurse. So you really have to become a differentiator as an employer to be attractive to those individuals. So we've had to think about, for example, student loan repayment. We've had to think about offering scholarships to help people get more advanced skill and certification. We've had to really amp up our employee referral program, where we're incentivizing our employees to refer based on our culture and experience. So I spend a lot more time doing staffing and recruitment, but I'm also trying to now pivot that into retention, because you don't want to become a revolving door. And I'm kind of personally making myself available to meet with those new employees in their 30 and 60 days of employment, to really create connection and relationship and share identity and purpose and really engage people, because the staffing right now within hospital systems nationwide is going to be a challenge for a while.
It's interesting. I would say COVID hit the healthcare community much harder than any other industry, right? And what I find is a lot of trades and service providing organizations are facing not necessarily the same, but very similar challenges, in that people are coming on board and they're not necessarily the same trained or experienced of somebody that's retiring, obviously. So you need to figure out how to bring that person up to speed as quickly as possible. Excellent feedback. I appreciate that. I want to twist it back a little bit and make a little, have some levity here. Geoffrey, what is the advice you would give the 18-year-old Geoffrey Hall?
Oh, on a personal level, I would say find ways to travel even more.
Yeah.
And to just remind myself that you may have a plan, but you don't have to have everything figured out. And some of the best experiences I've had were when I was given opportunities to try new things, to make mistakes, and learn from those mistakes without them kind of being career ending or plan ending, and just having that support system around you where you can get honest feedback and try new things and share new experiences, because those are the things that give you depth and make you well-rounded and really kind of adaptable and flexible as unpredictable change and situations occur.
Outstanding. Outstanding. Because I think everybody, if they had a chance to go back to their 18-year-old self, they would have a very different perspective on the choices they make, right? And it's good to hear people that are so comfortable in themselves knowing, this is what I did, this is what I changed, but I still did it. I still kind of I had my plan and I let my plan go as far as it could, but I didn't let the plan get derailed so much, but I edited my plan according to what I wanted to do. And that's an excellent piece of advice. So thank you for that.
Yes.
I'm going to ask you a last question, and it's about your most influential book you've ever read.
Okay. So the book that comes to mind, I read it in business school, and then I have reread it a number of times, and now share it with colleagues. It's probably the only book I recommend. It's Never Eat Alone by Keith Ferrazzi.
Okay. You want to tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah. So the premise of this book is you never know who in your walk of life is going to be able to open doors for you, and to not write people off because they might be the doorman of your building or the janitor at your high school, because in these connections, we're all kind of connected to the people that we aspire to be. And the premise is you basically give generously of yourself, always willing to help others without really keeping score, because keeping score makes it very transactional, and you feel like people owe you favors. But if you just give generously of yourself, and you are willing to ask these bold questions, then generally you're going to find that people are very gracious and free in giving their time and their service. And it just opens up a lot of doors. And I think it just reinforces the importance of relationship and connectivity, and kind of the cliche of not judging people or a book by their cover, and really just focusing on building strong relationships, and then leveraging those relationships as you go across your life and your career.
I love that. It is very similar to the philosophy of everybody has a story. You don't know it until you sit down and listen.
Right.
And if you really take an ear to what somebody has to say, you can find abundance in any situation, because you never know. That janitor may be the father or the son of a CEO somewhere else, and you can be connected to somebody that could change your life.
Yeah.
And it's
I
all
really like
about
that.
just go ahead.
That word, I really like that word that you used, abundance, because I think that's the quality of life that we all aspire to.
Exactly. And it's something that once you embrace the idea that, yeah, we can keep score, there's competition everywhere. But if you really take a look at it and say, the world is full of abundance because there's opportunity everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And you may not be the right fit for me. I may not be the right fit for you, but I know somebody that can help you. And that's the
Exactly.
best part about making those connections. And with that, Geoffrey, I'm going to say thank you for making this connection. I'm really excited to have the chance to talk to you. Is there any closing words that you'd like to have for the interview?
It's been my pleasure. I've certainly enjoyed our conversation, and I look forward to not only hearing this podcast, but some of the other leaders and key guests that you have. I think the work that you're doing is really impressive, and just to appreciate the opportunity to connect.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you so much, Geoffrey. And we will see you all on the next episode of the Business Spotlight.